Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Dr. D's. We are back with another video. So today we are doing it a little different. We're doing a tier list, but I've never done this before. Not this way anyway. I see people do this, and I'm like, okay, it has to be pretty simple because I've seen multiple people do this for their content, and I'm like, so it took me a couple hours. I know it's a little embarrassing. It took me a couple hours to figure this out, and you know, I've been contemplating it and going through it, and I think I got it down now, ladies and gentlemen. I think I got it down. And you guys are probably wondering, what is this video even for? What is this tier list even for? Well, I'm about to lay it down right now. So this tier list is for the biggest booty clappers in the Guild Boss. You heard that correctly. The biggest booty clappers in the Guild Boss. I think it would be a little overkill if I did legendaries and epics. I think it would just be too many heroes and I wouldn't be able to keep up with it, right? So we're just doing legendaries. So let's go over the tiers I have. We're starting out with the God tier. God tier means exactly what it says, ladies and gentlemen. It means that it is God tier, meaning that the biggest booty clappers of all booty clappers is going to be in this. And if you have this hero and you're not using him in the Guild Boss, you better ask somebody. You better change some stuff around and make sure you have him in the lineup, because God tier is the best tier, the best of the best. All right, and then we got S tier. S tier is also really good. It's just a step down from God tier. It still means that they're going to mess that Guild Boss up. It means that they are very, very good for the Guild Boss. All right, so S tier, very, very good as well. A tier means awesome. Let's go. I'm telling you right now, A tier, don't get deep. If you guys have someone in your lineup from A tier that I put on here and you guys are like, oh, maybe he's not that good, don't get it twisted. A tier is still good. Again, awesome. A stands for awesome. It means that they're still really good, and with the right lineup, you know, the right Lord skill, the right lineup, they could still push out a good amount of damage. So A tier, very good. All right, guys, so next up we have the B tier. B tier, it stands for, I don't know, let's see, basic. You know, it's like, should you use this hero for the Guild Boss? I mean, you could. They could still do decent damage. But with B tier, it just means that there's better heroes in there. Then C tier, I mean, if you got someone better, you just use them, right? C tier, we don't even want to mess with that, but at least they could do a little bit of damage. They could do a little bit of some on the Guild Boss. And then F tier means don't use them at all. You know, if you use one of the heroes from F tier that I'm going to put on this list and you have them in your lineup, then shame on you. No. But all right, let's get into this. They basically set all this out for me. I did not move anything around. This is what they had. I just made these tiers. I changed some stuff around. You know, I figured the best of the best should be God tier, so I added that in. They also had D and E. I took both those out. We don't care about D and E's. They're only going to get an F if they're below C tier, and you shouldn't use them. So to start this out, we have none other than my boy Salazar. Salazar was one of the first heroes I pulled in the game, one of the best single targets. So he is a booty clapping machine. He is very, very good. And this was hard for me because he's right on the God tier line. He's right there, but I don't want to put all the OP champions for Guild Boss in God tier. I want to make God tier for the very special ones, the very special nukers in the game. And granted, again, Salazar, he could be God tier. I mean, he is definitely one of the best in the business, but at the same time, I think he's like borderline. So I actually have him in the S tier. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and next up we have none other than Arrogance himself. He is one of the biggest booty clappers in the game, and I actually pulled him pretty early on my main account too. It was raining legendaries when I first started playing this game, I'm not gonna lie, and then it kind of fizzled out, and I had to really, I kept going in the pity timer, but that's another story for another time. So with Arrogance, I mean, you know, if he was part of the Infernal faction, I think he would be God tier. You know, he still is like teetering. He's right there with Salazar, teetering on the God tier level. But I got to put him at S tier. You know, I think he's a very good hero. You can use him on almost anything in the game. He's one of those ground units that can hit airborne units. Like, that's what we like. He's also got range like no other. I mean, he's the ultimate booty clapper. But keep in mind, S tier is still really good, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so don't be like coming at me high right now, because S tier is still really, really good. I just wouldn't put him on God tier level. Again, if he was part of the Infernal faction, I know Infernal faction for Guild Boss anyway is kind of meta right now. I was looking at all the top rankings for Guild Boss Nightmare 4, and basically everyone's running an Infernal faction Lord skill. So again, very, very good champion. S tier, very, very good. But I just can't put him in the god tier level. So him and Salazar both in the S tier, which is still solid. Let's go. Next up, we have Volca, and everyone can get her, right? You just got to do a bunch of different things. But the thing is, they actually made it easy to get her. Like, it's not anything that's going to be like, I need to wait until I get a lot stronger in order to finish this stage. They don't make it like that. That's what's fun about this game. This game takes care of its free-to-play players, and she's really good to start out with. I mean, you could even throw her in the Guild Boss, but she's just not, her damage is just okay. It's just okay. I mean, she's got leech. That's nice. When you get her to A1, I think you get a deduction on the revival time, which is cool. It's cool. And everyone should have her to A1 from doing the tide. So that's very solid. But me personally, I have to give her a B tier. I just wouldn't use her, you know, but even on my free to play, I don't use her for Guild Boss. Then next up, we have Elder. Elder's a tricky one. I don't have him. I know he's got a really good Lord skill, so I had to do a lot of research on this. I was like, okay, I want to make sure I give him the right grade. And looking at it, I mean, he does boost the attack for the North faction, which does come into play. That's a much needed Lord skill. Before Elder came into the game, the North faction was pretty much useless when it came to attack. It was only like, oh, you use a North faction team for gear raid too, right? So now that we have Elder in the game, it evens it out a little bit, right? He still does shields, I think, something like that. I didn't dive too deep into it. I just wanted to see how good he was for the Guild Boss because of that Lord skill and the fact that he has really good base stats and he can actually hit pretty hard. He's a heavy hitter. I'm going to give him an A. We're going to put him in the A tier, okay? And if any of you guys are disagreeing with what I say, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I love to debate with people and, you know, see where everyone's thoughts are at. See if I messed up. Maybe I messed up, maybe not. But that's the beautiful thing about opinions. Everyone's going to have one, right? Okay, so next up we have Zillatu. I mean, I don't even need to talk about her. I want her so bad. They will not give me Zillatu to save my life. If they have a 10-time event on her, I am going to go crazy because I want her so bad. She is one of the best heroes in the game, and she is probably the best hero for the Guild Boss. So she's god tier. I mean, she could be god tier on her own. She does need the Lord skill from like Twin Fiend or Pyros, but at the same time, even without it, she still claps. Like, she is a booty clapping machine, and she's going to take the first god tier slot. Let's go. Okay, next up we have Valkyra. I mean, Valkyra is good for a lot of phases in the game. Guild Boss is not one of them. The only useful thing that she has that would be good for the Guild Boss is the fact that she does do magic vulnerability. Magic vulnerability, Liddy committee, we like that. We like magic vulnerability, but I think there's better heroes that you can use that can do more for the team because she's more AoE and she's got a unique range, right? So Gear Aid 1, really good for that. I've seen people use her in AoE Arena, but there's a lot of different phases in the game that people can use her in. It's just Guild Boss, not too much. I'm going to give her a C only because she has magic vulnerability and she does decent damage, but it's not anything too crazy. So we're putting her in the C category. Ooh-wee. Next up, we have Abomination. Everybody should have Abomination. You confuse him. He's one of the best in the game. And honestly, he has a very unique ultimate because I think after he pops it 2 times, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think after he pops it 2 times, it just stays up and he just keeps smacking. He keeps smacking that Guild Boss. And he is just a really good fighter, ladies and gentlemen. A really, really good fighter, but I'm going to have to put him in the A tier. I mean, he could be S tier. He's like teetering right between those, but I want to put the guys that I know that are S tier in the S tier column. And again, he'd probably be A+. I mean, he's right on the S tier level, but if you are just starting out or even like late game, I see people using him in the late game, but again, A means awesome, so still really good for the Guild Boss. So we're going to put him in the A tier, and then we come over here. We have none other than Aracha herself. My goodness, let me just say, Aracha has one of the best Lord skills in the game. She actually really helps out my team since I have Silas. I'm really shooting for Hex. If I get Hex and Silas, I mean, sky's the limit, right? But only because of her Lord skill. The rest of her kit, I don't even use her in my Guild Boss lineup. I just use her for her Lord skill. Just her Lord skill alone because of how nasty it is. We're going to give her S tier. She is an S tier champion, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, next up we have Lugaru. Let me just say, Lugaru, very, very good attacker. I mean, he is very good. The only problem with him is he's a little squishy. It's hard to keep him alive, but if you can keep him alive, he's going to absolutely shit all over the Guild Boss. I mean, his damage is unreal, but the main thing is keeping him alive, right? So again, this is another one. He could be god tier, but I have to put him in the S tier, ladies and gentlemen. He's a very good hero. Very, very good hero, but he's just not God tier, all right? So we got Lugaru in the S tier. Okay, next up we have Absan. I mean, Absan's, his damage is decent. It is. It's decent. And, you know, with the Racha's Lord skill, he did push out decent damage for me, but he's just not someone that I would use. I definitely wouldn't put him in A tier, S tier, God tier, but I think he fits in well with the B tier. We'll put him in B tier. Okay, so we'll put Absan in there. Next up, we have one of my favorite heroes on my account. I absolutely love this chick. She is so good. One of the biggest booty clappers in the game, and she's part of the Chaos faction along with the Nightmare faction. So being part of the Chaos faction really helps her and really helps that damage output, especially if you pull Gon. If you have Gon, my goodness, I don't think I'll ever get him, honestly. The way they don't give me any legendary ancients is unreal, so I don't think I'll ever get him anytime soon, but Gon is definitely going to put her over the top, and she is going to be one. I mean, she's already a booty clapper, even in just the Nightmare faction alone. So the fact that she's part of the Chaos faction too, one of the best in the business, we're going to put her God tier. She is the second God tier hero in the game. So we're going to put Valeria in there. Next up, we have my boy Cerberus. Cerberus is good for a lot of things in the game, mainly AoE. Single target is not his strong suit. I don't even have to look anything up on him because I played around with him. He's really good for AoE arena. He's really good for a lot of things in the game like Gear Raid 1. Just Guild Boss, don't use him. Don't use him. F. We're going to give him an F. All right, guys, and next up we have Giselle. I mean, she's the vampire chick, right? So she's more of an AoE nuker than she is single target, but she does hit pretty hard, and especially if she gets Gon's Lord skill, sky's the limit, but I'll probably give her a solid B. We'll put her in the B category. Okay, next up we have Falcia. I actually passed on her event when she came out. I did have a good amount of shards, and I just went ahead and passed on it because I was like, you know what? If it's going to be a limited time hero, I think she's got to be a little better than what I read in her kit. And don't get me wrong, she's got really good single target, but she can't compete with any of the S tiers, right? So I'm going to put her in the A tier. She's an A tier hero, but from everything I've read in her kit, a little underwhelming. I don't think that she should have been a limited time hero, but luckily she was, so I don't have to ever worry about pulling her, only unless they end up giving her a fat buff. But as of right now, we'll put her in the A category. All right, next up we have Ardia. Ardia is a booty clapping machine. You can use her in about everything in the game outside of Gear Raid 3, of course. She's a really good hero overall, but for the guild boss, she's just okay. She thrives more in AoE than she does in single target, but she has good single target. It's just not up there in the S tier level, in my opinion. So we're going to give her an A. Put her down here in the A. Next up, we have Kaniza. Kaniza is very unique. I mean, she's really good for the guild boss. And if you have Salazar, which I think it's her brother, could be his wife. I don't know. They're somehow related, but they have a bond skill together. And she basically will do a little bit more damage when you unlock that bond skill. And, you know, more damage is always good, right? Especially if you want a nuker for the guild boss. So with Kaniza, she's like teetering between S tier and A tier, but I'm gonna put her in A tier. Next up, we have King Hars. I mean, come on now. You guys should know. Most defenders are useless in the guild boss, especially one like King Hars. So King Hars, we're going to give him an F. Do not use King Hars in the guild boss. I will repeat it. Do not use King Hars in the guild boss. He gets a fat F. Next up, we have my boy Gon. Honestly, I was going to put him in S tier, but I just did a little more digging. So I was reading his Lord skill, and it sounded so great. I was imagining the damage that my Valeria would do paired up with this guy's Lord skill. But I was taking a look at the top leaderboard for the Nightmare 4, and I don't see Gon on anyone's team. I don't know if he's that rare where no one has him, or if he's just not as good as what I think he is. So due to that, I want to put him in S tier, but due to that, I'm going with what I see, what my eyes are showing me, and my eyes are showing me that he's an A tier type hero, but I really like that Lord skill. I mean, basically he's only going to be used for his Lord skill, so you know, he's a defender. He's not going to do much damage, but that Lord skill, maybe it looks better than what I think it is, or maybe he's just so rare that nobody has him. So one or the other, I'll put him at A tier. Regulus, I mean, come on now. F. Don't use Regulus. Do not use him for the guild boss. Man, oh man. Next we have Torador. I want Torador so bad. I don't need to have multiple copies of him. I just need him one time. I need Torador in my lineup because of that Lord skill. He's going to be the ultimate booty clapper, especially because I have a lot of Nightmare faction heroes. I need Torador so bad. For the guild boss, you're not even going to lay him down. You're not even going to lay him down. You won't even use him. He doesn't do a lot of damage, but that Lord skill is next to none, and he is very good. I'm going to put him in the S tier column. S tier for Mr. Torador. Next up, we have Captain Reeve. Come on now. Got good AoE, got a little bit of stun in his kit where he stuns them for a second. I actually really like Captain Reeve. He's fun to play with, but definitely not a guild boss type of hero, okay? So we're going to put him in the F tier. Next up, we have Cyrus. Cyrus is a very good defender. I have not gone lucky. I do not have him, of course, but at the same time, I did a lot of digging on him. I did a lot of research, and his Lord skill just isn't really applicable for the guild boss. I mean, it's a good Lord skill, but there's a lot of better Lord skills for the guild boss anyway. And he has this really cool thing where one of my guildmates has him, and he went live on Discord to show me. He has this one really cool thing where he puts out minions, and you know, you have to go through the minions. I mean, one of the best for Guild Wars. I mean, he is an absolute stud for Guild Wars. Very, very hard to get by him when you have nukers attacking, and then he lays out those 2 minions. I mean, very, very good hero in general, but for the guild boss, he's just okay. So with all that being said, I'm going to give him a C. He's solid, but he could be better. I just wouldn't use him for the guild boss. Again, if I had him, maybe it would change my mind, because I like to test new things out. If I get a new hero that has a good Lord skill, I like to test them out in all phases to see what would work, what wouldn't work, and see if I could come out with any content for it. But I don't have him, so I'm just going off what I'm reading in his kit, and I give him a C. You know, one thing that's bothering me right now, I kind of want to put my girl Aracha in the God tier list. I mean, man, her Lord skill was so good. It's so good. It's kind of bothering me. I keep looking at it, but you know what? We'll keep her in S tier. Nah, you know what? We're going to change it. We'll change her to God tier. We are going to change Aracha to God tier. It's mainly because of her Lord skill. Again, you're not going to lay her down, but that Lord skill was so good. But then we have Azor. I mean, he's not good for a lot of things, so we'll just keep him in the F tier. Definitely not a guild boss type hero. And then we also got my boy Brock here. Brock here is one of my favorite defenders. I use him in a lot of phases of the game. Guild boss isn't one of them. Next up, we have Constance. Man, oh man, I would love to get my hands on Constance. She is so good. Honestly, just from reading her kit, not only does she give inspiration, she doesn't give as much as Dolores, but it's right up there with Dolores's. She also heals. You can use her as a healer, and you could put an extra attacker out there. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, ladies and gentlemen. It does not get much better than that. Just because of those 2 things I just said, you can use her as a healer, and she gives inspiration. We're going to put her in the S tier. She is an S tier hero, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, next up we have Hatsu. Hatsu's one of the best in the game. She could do about everything, but for guild boss, I mean, she's a little mid. She's a little mid. I mean, she's okay for guild boss. I definitely wouldn't use her when you get later in the game. If you're in the beginning of the game, she could pump out a good amount of damage. But when you get to the later portion of this game, I don't know if Hatsu will be the best option, so I'm going to give her an A. Next up, we have Calypso. I mean, Calypso was a little underwhelming. I thought she was going to be a lot better than what she actually is, especially for the guild boss. I really tried to make it work with Calypso, and she pumps out a good amount of damage, but I just have better nukers for the guild boss. I would love to put her S tier, but she's going to be a solid A tier for me. We'll put her right over here. Okay, now we have Nyx. Nyx is really good for AoE. She just costs so much. I mean, that's my biggest knock on Nyx. Why are you going to make her cost so much when all the other marksmen cost so little bit? They cost what, 10, 11, 12, on average probably 12, and then they make her cost what, 22? I mean, absolutely ridiculous, but at the same time, we're not talking about all that. We're just talking about guild boss. I'm gonna give her a C. I mean, a lot of better champions to use than her. Now we have my boy Sylas. I think you guys know where Sylas goes. Everybody should know where Sylas goes. He is God tier, one of the best single targets in the game. He is absolutely going to clap the guild boss's booty cheeks. If you have him, I know you already use him for guild boss because that's how potent he is. You don't even have to gear him out that great and he's going to start doing damage for you. But once you get the right gear on him, and if you could get Aracha, and if you could get Vierna, I mean, sky's the limit. He's my biggest booty clapper for the guild boss. He is definitely God tier, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now let's go down to Setram. Setram is really good for the guild boss, and he's got a really unique range. I mean, Setram's a really good hero in this game as a whole, but we're just talking about the guild boss. With guild boss, I'm gonna put him as an S tier. S tier. I mean, he's like borderline God tier, but S tier is where he belongs. Now we have Cratch. Cratch, I mean, come on, God tier. Anybody that has, I'm just messing around with you guys. I almost got you. You guys probably like, what the heck is this guy talking about? So we're just going to move him down to the F tier. He doesn't deserve to be in any of these tiers. He needs a fat buff, and he's one of the few marksmen that, actually, I don't know many marksmen that have the range like he does. It's absolutely pathetic, and he's F tier for a lot of phases in the game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and now we have Sargak. Sargak is part of the Chaos Dominion, and Since he is part of the Chaos Dominion, he has the whole, his health goes down, but he gains attack speed, and he also inflicts bleed. Bleed's very important. It's very good for the Guild Boss, and also if they're already bleeding, he ignores 50% of the defense. So with all that being said, everything that I've read in his kit, I think he's going to be very good for the Guild Boss. Unfortunately, I do not have him, so I haven't gotten to play around with him. And also he's part of the Piercing faction. Piercing faction, that means he gets to enjoy Aracha's Lord skill as well. So with all that being said, we're going to put him in the S tier. He is an S tier hero, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we have Hex. Sexy Hexy. Come on now, y'all better stop playing with me. You already know he's going in the God tier level. I don't even have to say anything about this guy. This guy is an absolute machine for the Guild Boss. I really want him, and he was part of the 10-time event, and of course I didn't get him. They don't ever want to hook your boy D's up with what he wants, right? So he's going to be in the God tier. He is an absolute machine. He is so good. So good. Next up, we have Razak. I mean, he's got good AoE. He's good for Gear Raid 3, but for the Guild Boss, he's just we're going to put him in the B tier. Next up, we have Alora. Honestly, Alora is mainly used for her visibility. I mean, it is so good for Gear Raid 3, but outside of that, she's kind of like, she's just okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put her in the B tier. I think B suits her very good. Now we have Elwyn. I mean, need I say anything more? She's one of the best Rage regen, and she's also got a little Dispel Cleanse in her kit as well. So we're going to put her in God tier. One of the best in the business. Okay, next up we have Leia. Leia is actually better, just a little bit better at restoring rage than Elwyn is. And also she comes with the Lord skill, which makes it so much better. She increases attack damage. I mean, she could do it all. She is God tier. She is definitely God tier. Unfortunately, I do not have her, but I don't have a lot of these guys, honestly. But I'm just reading their kit and seeing what they're good at, and she makes it in the God tier level. Let's go. Leia's in the God tier. Next up, we have Dasami. I mean, arguably the worst legendary in the game. We're going to go ahead and give him an F. He is an F in a lot of things in the game. Him and Cratch are competing for who's the worst. Okay, next up we have Aylin. I mean, she's a great healer. She really is. She's a great healer, great range, got a very unique range, but at the same time, her kit's a little underwhelming because she doesn't really do any buffs for your team. And, you know, without having buffs for the Guild Boss, there's a lot better heroes than her. So we're going to put her in the C tier. So Ezreal is he's a single target healer, and honestly I'd rather use a lot better healers than him for the Guild Boss. I would give him an F. Don't use Ezreal for the Guild Boss. Next up we have Carnelian. I mean, she's a little underwhelming. I just read her whole kit and I was not impressed at all, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, if we're going off of the way she looks badass. I'd put her in the God tier, but we're not going off the looks. We're going off what she does for the team, and she heals. She does a little, she does have unyielding, but I don't think that's necessary. I mean, honestly, I'm just going to put her in the F category. I would not use her at all for the Guild Boss. Sadie, I mean, come on, we're going to put her at F. She's really great for Gear Raid 2, but it's limited outside of that. She doesn't really heal that well, but her ultimate makes it to where they won't die, you know, that she soaks a lot of the damage, right? Just not a Guild Boss type hero. Okay, now we got Nocturne. Nocturne's a little tricky because I really like Nocturne. I really do. He is a beast, but Hex kind of power crept him. He's not as good as Hex, but he's still very good for the Guild Boss. He claps some booty cheeks. He is definitely a S tier type hero. S tier all the way. Nocturne gets the S tier. Okay, so Ajax is one of the best. He is very good for AoE. He's one of the harder heroes to even pull. Like, he is very hard to pull, and I have not been blessed to get him, but at the same time, I remember when I first started this game, I was like, what is this dragon? What is that? And you know, it's kind of cool, right? They added a dragon with the guy on top. You could barely see the guy, right? But at the same time, he's very good for AoE. His single target's okay. He does have burning, which makes it a little better for the Guild Boss, and he also does a little magic resistance reduction, but I don't know if that's for the whole time because it says when they approach him, so I don't know if it's just for the beginning, right, when you lay him down, or if it's the whole time he's just applying that one to the Guild Boss. But nonetheless, he's just okay for the Guild Boss. I'd probably give him an A. I could put him in B. I mean, he's borderline A-B territory. Just from what I read in his kit. I mean, Shamir, don't use him for Guild Boss. He's really good for AoE. I know that a lot of people's been using him and he's been doing a lot of good things for people, but he's just not a Guild Boss type of guy. He's straight AoE. So we're going to put him in the C category. Next up, we have Lasir. I mean, he's got slow in his kit. He's got this sand stuff. I forget what it is, but it does extra damage when other people die, but he's just not a Guild Boss type hero. Again, he's more of an AoE hero than he is a single target, and he's got a lot of good CCs in his kit. So with all that being said, we're going to put him in the C category. he could be F, honestly. Maybe borderline. I actually have him on my free to play, so I've been playing around with him, but not someone you want to use for the guild boss. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and next up we have none other than Zaelus. Zaelus, very good for Gear Raid 1. He has magic resistance. I think it's either magic resistance or magic vulnerability, one or the other, but just know that he allows your magic damage nukers to pump out more damage, right? So with that being said, not really viable for the guild boss. He is straight AoE. I wouldn't even use him at all. I'm going to give him an F. I mean, maybe we can move him to C mainly because he has the vulnerability, but if it wasn't for that, he definitely would be an F. I still wouldn't use him though. So next up we have Sulcadence. I just looked her up, or him. I can't tell if it's a girl or a guy, but anyways, I just looked him up and he has a very interesting Lord skill and he is a big booty clapper. I mean, I would love to get him. I would love to get him. You know, he'd definitely be a nice toy to play around with. And from what I've read, it seems like he would be S tier. A very good hero with a good Lord skill, but I think Twin Fiend's Lord skill is a little better than his. So we can't put him in that God tier category, but he does do a good amount of damage as well. So we'll put him in the S tier. Definitely an S tier type hero. Next up we have Morrigan. Morrigan is a very good overall hero, but just not in the guild boss. Her Lord skill, we're not even going to use it for guild boss, so we're just going to give her a solid C. She's a C type hero. And then we have Kriya. I mean, Kriya, meh. She's just a straight up nuker that has some slow in her kit. I mean, she'd be borderline C, F. We'll give her a C just for the fuck of it, but actually, you know what? Let's give her an F. You know, she's borderline between both of those. Not really viable for the guild boss. Now we have Komet. Komet is a big booty clapper. He is one of the best AoEs in the game, but guild boss is not AoE, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to give him a B just because of how much damage his ultimate can push out, but there's a lot better heroes to use for the guild boss than my boy Komet over here. Now we have Vierna. I mean, Vierna, we'll give her, she'd be right in this area, She is one of the best AoE nukers in the game, but I'll probably give her a C. Yeah, we'll do a C. Okay, guys, I'm getting a little wore out. I didn't realize how long this would take, but we're going to finish it. We're going to finish it strong. Let's go. So, Venema, I mean, really good for Gear Raid 1. Not viable for the guild boss. We're going to give her a C. Okay, now we have Cade. I mean, he's aight. We'll just give him a C. I just skimmed over his kit. It's not anything impressive, and he definitely, guild boss isn't one of his strong suits, so we're going to give him a C. I mean, Twin Fiend. If you look at the guild rankings for Nightmare 4, there's not a single one of them without Twin Fiend. Twin Fiend is one of the best in the business. He is up there with my girl Zilla 2. He is God tier on another level. I mean, his Lord skill is next to none, especially for the guild boss, so we're going to give him God tier. Okay, so now we have Garza. I mean, Garza, he's okay. He's a little tricky to play around with, and you have to make sure you keep him alive, right? He is part of the Chaos faction, and honestly, with Gon's Lord skill, it could maybe boost his damage output, but at the same time, he's just not there. So we're going to give him a B. Better heroes than this guy. Last but not least, we have Demi. Demi is very good for Gear Raid 1. She is not a guild boss hero, ladies and gentlemen. She comes with anti-healing and I believe slow in her kit, but when it comes to guild boss, she ain't it. Okay, so we're going to give her a solid B. She's okay. Ooh, I'm a little tired after all that. You know, that's a lot of talking for me. I'm going to go ahead and rest my voice now, but that's all I got for tonight's video. Thank you guys for making it to the end, and you guys have a great rest of your night. Peace!